What's up, guys? Another episode of FinsCast with Jay Ramos, Ryan Winters, and let's get right into it. Dolphins coming off a 17-10 victory over the Washington Redskins. A lot to talk about from it. Jay, what was your first take from the game?
My first take was just relief. I mean, I remember I'm just being honest. I missed the first half because I was at work, but I just remember seeing them down 10-0 in the second quarter, just going on Twitter and everything, and and just never thinking. Well, I mean, it was just a relief. It was a little closer than it should have been, but we'll talk about a lot of subplots within the game. But my overall reaction was just, I never really thought it was in doubt.
Ryan?
Yeah, I got to echo a little bit of what Jay said there. There was definite relief at the end for me, seeing them come away with a win. But, as I had mentioned on Twitter before the game, I would have been very happy with a 17-point score by the Dolphins and a win. And at the end of the day on the road, I'm happy with a win. And that's really what it comes down to. It's the NFL. It's not baseball. It's not basketball. There are no style points. It's not college football. It's a win.
Yeah, but people are saying it was a pretty bad game, but, I mean, any road win in the NFL is a good win, I guess.
I have to agree with that.
Okay, so what was your guys' thoughts on the run defense? Obviously, it didn't get off to a good start because Alfred Morris ran down the Dolphins' throat in the first half. Ryan.
All right. Well, it was really a story of two halves, as was the whole game. In the first half, I believe they gave up somewhere around 100 yards rushing. In the second half, only about a little bit more than 60. I think they made some nice defensive adjustments along the line and in the linebacking core. I think adding Vigil there was able to add a little bit of stability in the linebacking core, especially not having linebackers so far out of position. And I think they really had a hard time adjusting in the first half to the manner in which the Redskins were cutting and trapping and doing things along the line of scrimmage that allowed Morris into the second level and then into the secondary, where a safety on Alfred Morris is really just not fair.
Jay?
Yeah, I had well. First of all, the analyzing the game is kind of foolish because at the end of the day, it's just not enough information to make a conclusion. But with that, as a human, obviously I'm a human. I harness my hot takes a little bit differently. But a thought did enter my head, and I started to think about things, and I started to think if hypothetically, if they're not stopping the run, by week 4, 5, 6, I started to just have the coiled out again. Like, is it the best? I just don't know. It's like you playing you're playing the worst quarterback in the league. Why don't you just kind of stuff the box more? Why are you playing nickel so much when Alfred Morris is literally their only chance at anything? And it's just kind of weird to me. And it's just going to get to a point where it's like if this doesn't, you have the most talented defensive line in the game, and if the team's not stopping the run, it's going to end up being like, who's to blame for this? And it's like, I know it's not Ndamukong Suh, and I know it's not Earl Mitchell, and I know it's not. Well, Olivier Vernon actually has had some struggles against the run, but it's just kind of weird. And the coiled doubt entered my head. With that being said, I don't think he's bad necessarily, but I think things will correct themselves. But that's just something that crossed my mind as far as why are you still, rushing 4 when the quarterback is terrible.
Ryan? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback is not great in Kirk Cousins. He definitely has his issues in moving the ball around the field through the air. It would not have hurt, I think, to have stacked the box a little bit more. I agree with that, all parts of that. That said, Coyle has his scheme. He has his system. He's very stuck to it. He has been since he's gotten here. Expecting that to change now, I think, is kind of fool's gold. Really what you need to hope for is you need to hope for this defense to really be able to execute those schemes and really implement the adjustments, which they did at halftime. You have to give them credit for that, and you have to give Coyle credit for making those adjustments, seeing what was happening, and coming back in the second half with a much better scheme to stop the run.
But let me ask you this then, because we've seen it work. I mean, they were just they were unbelievable against the run the first 10 weeks of last season, and but it has slipped a little bit since he came. But they were unbelievable the first 10 weeks of last season. So is this the second half adjustments that you saw? Like, what were they, and why are they different? And is that a sustainable thing?
Well, I think the biggest thing that you saw in the second half was more Vigil, less Shepard.
Mhm.
And I just believe that Shepard found himself, especially in the first half, too far out of position too often. He was flowing way too much with what was obvious right in front of him, and not really going to where the ball was. I remember looking back at the coach's tape maybe about 2 hours ago, and seeing one play that really popped out of my mind. Watching Koa Misi flowing with the apparent movement of the play, but recognizing it after only one step and cutting off his movement, circling back around, and making a play, 5 yards upfield, but really saving another 10 yards beyond that by getting there and corralling the running back. On that same play, I saw Shepard continue to flow directly into the line, missing the entirety of the play, and by the time he showed up in the play, they were already lining up for the next down. So I think he saw a lot more. I think he saw a lot more of those missteps not taken with Vigil in the game. Not that Vigil was exceptional in any way, shape, or form,
Yeah, he
but
didn't, he didn't grade well. Yeah, he didn't grade well. But
no, I mean, but and I am a proponent of grades. I believe grades are really the only way you could tell about what's going on a football field. I think if you're looking at stats, you're just looking at things that really don't have a direct outcome on the game most times, unless you're talking about scoring, which is a result of execution and a result of doing things well, which is what grading evaluates. So when you're looking at those things and you're looking at Vigil and you're saying to yourself, well, you know what, he wasn't great, but you know what, he also wasn't out of position. He wasn't causing our defense to be in poorly leveraged situations where they were outnumbered on the exterior, they're outnumbered in the secondary, and therefore they're getting blocked downfield. Beyond that, on the long defensive line, I thought when Fide came in, there was definitely a better job of setting the edge going on, which of course contains running backs towards the middle, back towards the strength of our defense, which is Earl Mitchell and Nanda Makamsu. I'll one day say his name right, I hope. And when you have those things going, it becomes just so much easier to defend the run in those cases. And I think once they kind of got a feel for the cuts, especially along the offensive line, you saw a much better penetration, you saw much better contain, and you saw a much better result against the run.
I found it interesting about the Terrence Fide. I think he came in and played pretty well. Like, the defense changed when he came in.
Absolutely.
I don't know, Jay, if you were there.
He makes me feel way better about the fact that we can't pay Olivier Vernon in a few months. Like, he makes me feel way better about that. No, for real. Like, I think.
No, I mean, you're right.
I'd rather spend half the money on Derek Shelby or not even half the money. I'd rather spend 30 or 40% of that on Derek Shelby and just invest in Terrence Fide because, it's good.
You don't even have to invest in Terrence Fide. He's under contract for 2 more years.
I mean, in his development.
His rookie contract.
Yeah,
but
right.
You hit the nail on the head on the big issue for the Dolphins going forward beyond this year, which is how they're going to manage their cap.
Mm-hmm.
And Fide and Shelby are 2 pieces that are massively valuable towards doing that because you're going to make a choice here in the upcoming year. You're going to be choosing. Are we keeping Vernon? Are we keeping Miller? Are we keeping Grimes? Are we keeping McWake? Those are your choices coming up here.
Well, we always talk about that. Me and Jay, we have a thing, cut Grimes. We got to throw that out there. But
stop it.
No, but seriously, I mean, obviously, I think it's like a no-brainer that Grimes is going to get cut, or not cut, but like approached for a restructure because he's guaranteed $16 more million at age 32 and 33.
Well, he's 32 now, so 33.
33 and 30.
He's gonna,
34.
And I think Cam Wake restructures, even though obviously we don't know them personally, but we get that feel that he restructures. And but yeah, I mean, I think Olivier Vernon is a pass rusher, and people tend to overpay those and it is a premium position, to be fair to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll probably, that's his market value. So I think he's probably the most likely to walk. I think Lamar Miller, you might be able to keep him on one of those like crap, nobody's offering me what I thought, so I guess I'm gonna have to be underpaid in this market. So yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this much: Bill Lazor is doing everything in his power to make sure that Lamar Miller is part of the Dolphins next year by giving him, what did he have, 6 carries before the fourth quarter? I mean, got to give Lamar Miller the ball more often than that.
Which brings us into well, do you think? Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, Dallas Thomas, they do well? No? Yes? I think it's pretty bad again.
What my thing is about Dallas is I appreciate them, but it's like nobody puts a vine of when Brandon Albert messes up. Nobody puts a vine when if Brent Grimes gets beat. Like, I just don't. I think it's a little unfair to Dallas that it's almost like we're making too much of this. He's a guard. He's not determining the success of this team at this point. At this point, they have $50 million invested in a left tackle. They have a Pro Bowl center, a first-round pick at center, first-round pick at right tackle. Your rookie right guard is developing well. It's not that important anymore to just worry about Dallas Thomas. Like, I think he's fine. He graded average at guard last year. I'm gonna trust that sample of data against his initial grade against Washington. I'm just gonna say I'm not worried.
And like what you were saying about you don't see bad vines about Brandon Albert on that play that Tannehill fumbled where everyone's going at Dallas Thomas.
Yeah. That's kind of that.
Brandon
feeling,
Albert
right? Yeah.
messed up just as bad too.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that play. I remember looking at it. They both got fooled badly on the twist by the defense. Both lost their leverage, and were both lost in space. And I think you're darn right on that point. That could have been one of those epic vines that people talk about. But, the reality is the other 55 plays a game, Brandon Albert's not going to be a problem. Dallas Thomas going to have more issues than that. But at the end of the day, Jay's right. He's a guard. And if you can't win with one shaky guard, then you're not ready to win in the NFL.
I mean, how many lines in the league have undrafted or mid-round guys who are below average and the interior of the offensive line? I mean, plenty.
All of them.
Right.
Wasn't the Patriots going with like 2 undrafted?
Yeah, it's just a worn out thing now, and now it's to the point where people aren't thinking critically. Remember, the offensive line played outstanding last year, the first 8 weeks, 9 weeks, right? And it's just this thing now where it's like they messed up, and it's like it's not about the context of how the line is built. It's like they've been bad in the past. Oh my God, they're still bad. Oh my God, they're still bad. And it's like it's out of context. They have not been bad since Brandon Albert has. When Brandon Albert is there since week 1 of 2014, they have not been a bad line. So people are just can't really let this whole thing go about the line being bad. I'm willing to give them a few weeks as a unit together with Brandon Albert healthy before I jump to this assumption that Dallas Thomas is sinking the organization.
Yeah, Brandon Albert's definitely like the anchor to that because you even tell he went out for one play and Tannehill got sacked right away. So.
I mean, any team that they're. I mean, it's arguably the second or third most important position on the field. So of course, any team that loses their guy at left tackle probably doesn't have a high-priced backup for him. So it's just how the game works.
Which makes you think, was that the only sack they gave up?
No, 3 total, I believe.
3 total. Good for them.
Including I believe Pouncey gave one up, and also Dallas Thomas I do believe gave one up as well.
Did you watch the game again? Because I think
I've watched.
Some people think 2 of those sacks were on Tannehill. I think it was more like 1, but
I'm always reticent to put sacks on quarterbacks. We always talk about, this time he should have thrown the ball sooner, and this time he should have held the ball for more time and stared down the barrel of the gun and taken a hit and delivered the ball late in order to get the bigger play. And this time he should have rolled out, and this time he should have done that. And I mean, there are occasions where he holds the ball too long because he got sacked, and there are times where, boy, did he do a great job of waiting for the play to open up.
That's fair.
What is the line between those two things except for the result?
Is it a results play a situation probably?
So I mean, yeah, you open yourself up to the downside, but you open yourself up to the upside. I think we would all agree that Ryan Tannehill is at his best when he's on the move.
Definitely.
And that's a chance for him to get on the move when plays break down like that, and he's done it more and more as time has gone on, and hopefully that is a tendency that continues to grow because it's what will take his game and the Dolphins to the next level.
I think you hit that nail. I think you hit that right on. So you guys want to just jump into the roster move talks?
Sure. I know something about those. Maybe.
Well, we know Sam Brenner, LaMichael James, and Jonas Gray are out, and they brought in I always forget his name, from the practice squad.
That guy
from the practice.
We call him that guy from Philadelphia practice squad.
The guy. Morissette was from Philly. He averaged they were saying he was averaging the most yards on kick returns in the preseason. So
no, he was not just that. I mean, from yards from scrimmage, period.
Yeah,
he was extraordinary.
He was extraordinary against those UPS drivers.
Oh yeah.
FedEx delivery guys.
Substitute teachers.
I mean, he was fantastic.
I don't know why don't they give Bobby McCain a shot? Bobby McCain was pretty good at Memphis returning kicks. There's a big scramble to return kicks. Are they overdoing it?
I was thinking Rashard Matthews for punts.
I will tell you this, that any receiver at this point is more expendable than a defensive back. Because while the defensive backs played well, there is very little depth. And if we lose Bobby McCain because we had him back on punt return, would actually hurt this team more than losing Jarvis Landry. And I know that sounds crazy.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I don't think it's not a bottom line fact, but I understand the context of what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a guarantee that anybody's going to get hurt or won't get hurt. It's football. I mean, you can get hurt standing on the sideline and run over by one of those golf carts. I mean, let's get real. I mean, it's a dangerous game. I mean, there's lots of ways to get hurt. It doesn't, I mean, heck, we watched it happen in that Carolina practice when the Dolphins went up there. Our guy and their guy both got bit by the turf monster.
Mm-hmm.
Just non-contact, pop. And they're gone for the year.
I wanted to get you guys' opinion on this LaMichael James situation. We heard before the game started that him and Landry got into a bit of a scuffle. Do you think him being waived is more towards the scuffle or more towards him fumbling that?
I hope it's not the scuffle. I hope it's not the scuffle because that's not how. I mean, here's the thing, man. I never coached professional sports, just high school sports, but I promise you that that's not even 20% of the scuffles that are going to happen in that locker room the whole season. It's just something that happens. They argued and they shoved each other around. I hope the Dolphins aren't. Joe. I can't. You can't cut a guy for doing that because there's no way you're going to be consistent. You weren't going to cut Jarvis Landry. If Jarvis Landry goes right now and smacks somebody in the face, they're not going to cut him. They're not going to cut him. So at least, I will hope they aren't inconsistent and they aren't, it's a performance thing. I mean, I'm not sure he should have even made the team, although I understand why. But
I thought he not deserved the roster spot, but I thought it made sense for him to get a roster spot, especially with Jay Ajay going on IR.
Yeah, I can see where you guys are coming from with that. I will say I think personality does play a small part in that. Fringe guys making a point to tell the team media that, hey, I want you to call me LaMike and not LaMichael, while in the middle of the preseason trying to win a job. Third year in the league. It's not like suddenly, oh, now today LaMichael bothers me.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I want my name in the media's mouth, and then you compound that, you get into a confrontation with perhaps the most popular player on the team. And then on top of that, you're not that good a player. You're a fringe guy to begin with. You come out the second half and you almost fumble it. You're off your own knee. I was almost surprised they didn't cut him right there on the sideline.
But I mean, I wouldn't put it past Philbin that he was cut. LaMike was cut to make an example of. Going back to the Chad Ochocinco thing back years ago. Obviously he headbutted his wife. Yeah, I guess he deserved to get cut for that.
Those were some hard knocks.
Those are some hard knocks. But I think I always thought he was never going to make the team after that media. Remember, he started cursing in his first press conference, and like Philbin had a little fit. Like, Philbin likes making examples of people. So
He is the principal. That's the perfect nickname for him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jay, anything? Do you think it was an example, made of an example of, like, gut feeling? Like, not what you want to know.
Gut feeling, no. Gut feeling, no. No, I think it's a performance issue.
I think they were like, they got tired of him, and they were just waiting for the one mess up to say, okay, he's gotta go. Like,
He's not that bad. I mean, he wanted his name changed real quick. I don't know. He was reeking. I don't know, man. It's a performance issue. I mean, if he returned a kick for a touchdown on Sunday, he'd be on this team. You know?
Yeah, but a touchdown return is not a likely outcome. As somebody.
Well, if he caught the ball, if he caught that ball and returned it 18 yards.
Well,
he did.
It was a pretty nice return until he fumbled, right? If I remember correctly.
But I'm not sure that that's the case. I'm not sure that even without the fumble, that he doesn't get cut. I think he was very, 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 very much the 53rd guy on the roster, and they churn those guys very regularly. I don't think his personality was meshing. I think that's obvious from both the confrontation and the the necessity to go out to the organizational media. And at the end of the day, it's like what was just said. If they don't like you very much, you can't give them any reason to cut you. And obviously, he gave them a reason. And if they liked him a lot, he would still be on the team, and he's not there.
Well, do you think if Jarvis Landry doesn't return that kick for a touchdown, he's on the team still?
I think everybody knows that Jarvis Landry is an exceptional returner, and that it's not a big secret. So, knowing that we could put him back there wasn't really a mystery for the coaching staff. They knew that at any point, if they wanted to get a spark, a good choice would be to put Jarvis Landry back there to take back kicks and punts.
I don't know, but I always have like a problem with having, like the Steelers do with Antonio Brown, putting your best receiver out of a return situation.
But it works.
It works, yeah, but
I mean, we can go back over the years. Emmanuel Sanders does it. Steve Smith did it for most of his career. I believe. Oh God, what's the kid's name in Dallas? I believe he does it still. Hopkins. So I mean, it happens all over the league. He's a second year.
I think you know what, man. I think it's okay, man. He's a good player, but you're so deep at that position, and he's your best option. He's explosive. He basically won this game for me. Yeah.
Second year in the league, and you're young enough, and you're able to run and bounce back and do all those things that maybe a 30-year-old vet couldn't. But he's a 23-year-old, 24-year-old kid, second year in the league, fresh legs. Let him run.
Yeah, but I mean, is he like the permanent punt returner now, or because I mean they just signed this Morissette guy? Like, who do they plan on going with now?
I'm sure Joe Philbin will release his roster the day of the game, as he usually does, and the starters will be the starters. To quote Joe Philbin.
Now we can take this time for Jay to get it off his chest.
Go for it, Jay.
Go, Jay. Your media critics.
All right, so we just got to do a rundown real quick. So there's a few things, right? So number one, there's two things really that were out there today. As usual, the Big O's crusade against Ryan Tannehill was in full throttle today. Full throttle. He's never ever gonna change. Tannehill got Deion Sims killed. I heard that.
Still got any talk about that?
Yeah, and so the thing is, it's funny, man, because we know he got Jordan Cameron on a few chunk plays, and he wasn't far from having Kenny Stills on one. But you also had Salguero, right? And just several people in general. Like, we just can't. I feel like there's two people in Dolphins land right now, right? There's the people that are saying, well, we won, but sure, they got to fix some things, but you know what? Let's just kind of see. Let's just kind of wait a couple games. I don't really know anything. And then there's the people that are like, no, 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 no. They have problems. They have to fix them right now. Oh my God, they are not going to do anything if these problems persist. But that's like, what is the point of going on a rampage about something obvious? Like, if they don't correct this, then they won't win. Like, that's so obvious, and it's so lazy to continue to repeat. It's not analysis. It's not analysis. Unless you think they aren't, explain why they aren't. Or if you think they are, tell us why they are. But just repeating, if they don't stop the run, they won't make the playoffs. And we need to talk about that because it was very bad for one half. For one half, it was so bad, and if it continues, they won't be good. And it's just annoying. It's just annoying. So, you know, shout out. You know, I'm blocked by Armando. Unfortunately, we had an incident last week where I thought he was silly because he said somebody got cut. What was it? What was it, Mike? It was Jonas Gray or somebody like that.
No,
So
Jonas Gray got suspended, didn't he?
no. All right, the Dolphins cut a pick, and I think it was who was the fourth. You know, they cut a pick, and then he said, just for reference, the Patriots picked Tom Brady sixth, and I was like, what is that?
Logan Thomas.
Yeah. So the Dolphins get Logan Thomas off waivers and cut him, and then in his blog he says, oh, the Dolphins cut a fourth-round pick. Just so you know, keep in mind the Patriots took Tom Brady 199th overall. I'm like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Why? What does that have to do with? Do you have any sense of nuance? And I got blocked because I disagreed. So, you know, that's just my story with Armando and my background. But I think he's overreacting, and he is the person I'm mentioning because he's obviously the most popular voice in terms of his role, and it's just a shame. But people just need to relax. Not because I think the Dolphins are going 16-0, but just because I don't know either way. So why are we like, we don't know either way? And I'd like you to tell me what you think is going to happen or not happen. Don't repeat the obvious thing we just saw and say, if it happens, then this is what's going to happen. So that's my thing.
Just really quickly, because, you know, I like to play devil's advocate, but also because, you know, I was once an accredited member of the media. So once upon a time, many, many years ago.
So was I, by the way. So was I.
So then you'll appreciate what I'm about to say. You know, these guys nowadays, back from when I did this 10 years ago, and back when I was, you know, running a newspaper and all of those things that I had done in my past, they have a demand on them now that they never have had before to provide content and information that they don't necessarily have. And we expect them to have it, and we expect them to have the answers, and we have created in that these guys who are now no longer media, but media personalities. And so as a personality, they're going to drive their narratives, they're going to push their agendas, and they're going to constantly be in the voice of, hey, this is what it is, or this is how it is, and this is why I think it is. And you're very rarely going to get them away out of that.
But but let me ask you this. I don't think it's an act, though. You know, I mean, going all the way up to Skip Bayless. I mean, I think
Skip Bayless is an act.
I'm not sure, but I know people who have met him who say he's not, and he say they talk to him, and he's like, no, I believe everything I'm saying, and he talks to them. I don't know. I mean, either way, we don't know. We don't know, but I don't think Armando's doing this because I want to get some clicks. Like that's not what people. I think he believes what he's doing.
I think his salary is directly tied to how many clicks he gets. And if you take it for any more than that at this point, you know, then you're almost missing the point. The truth of the matter is, if you want real news and information about almost anything in this world today, you need to go outside of the mainstream media for anything outside of the highlights. If you want the highlights,
definitely.
If you want the highlights,
I'll read your breakdowns, Ryan, for sure. Like I'll read your breakdowns and I'll watch the film stuff. I'll look on Twitter when Oscar's cutting up the plays. I'll look at all that too. But it's just, you know, it's not mutually exclusive. It's not mutually exclusive. Like I'm still gonna criticize if the mainstream media is doing something silly.
Their audience is not us. You know, remember our audience is one person and their audience is somebody else entirely. They're for the other 60%, 70% of Dolphins fans who are not out there breaking it down, who are not out there watching coaches film, who are not out there watching all 22s, who are not out there reading blogs, who are not out there on Twitter. There's millions and millions and millions of people all over the world who follow the Dolphins, and that's who these guys write for.
True. It's just I can't deny that. But I'm also,
No, I mean I agree with you. I
I'm
think
gonna
their
put the heat.
personalities are junk, but
Yeah, and it's just, but you're right in terms of, and that's something we've talked about in the past with guys. There's a couple of local media guys like that, and I try to rationalize Omar to people that way because I used to say I actually don't dislike Omar because I just tell people like he wasn't trained and he didn't go to school to be a personality. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a reporter, and now we're looking at you like, don't be wrong about football. Be an expert, and that you're right to a degree. That's unfair. They're journalists. They're not coaches, and for the most part, former players. And
or at all, most former players can't spell well enough to be journalists.
who defers to people who know more than me. To be frank, they don't know what much about football either. So it's true. But it also I remember being a journalist and just being accountable and just you get the information across and you don't say something unless you have the information to back it or unless you have the knowledge to back it. So, I acknowledge that it's okay that they don't know and that it's unfair to expect them to know, but then don't tell me you know, and that's the thing there. Don't tell me you know and don't pass it off as fact and engage in discussion for God's sakes. Don't run from somebody telling you you're wrong. If you can have an open discussion about maybe you can grow. I mean, you're a journalist. You're supposed to be open-minded, and you're supposed to be about discussion, right?
Right.
So there's also the ethics of that. Have a discussion, have an open mind, engage, grow. I mean, so that way you can give more to your readers.
I understand where you're coming from, but I had a little back and forth with Andrew Abramson of the Post the other day talking about a Nate Silver article, and just like I said to him about Nate Silver, I'm like, that's not really what Nate Silver does. Nate Silver just gives you the numbers.
And that's fair. I appreciate somebody who does that.
But that's not, a journalist. That's not really what he does. He just gives you the information. And the fact that we forced him into these conversations have changed everything. So,
well, they also get themselves into these conversations. If you go on a crusade ripping Ryan Tannehill or going.
Well, you can't. I don't include the sports radio guys in the media.
No, but not just him. You know who I'm talking about. There's writers who have ripped Ryan Tannehill consistently too.
There are, but and to Omar's credit, he has been all over Tannehill's jock this offseason. So, he's allowed it to turn. I mean, I've given him more subtweet grief than probably most people on earth when it comes to his Ryan Tannehill stance. But at the end of the day, he's willing to come around because he sees it in front of him, and that's what he's reporting. And before that, he was reporting it too, and he was reporting what he saw. Not that necessarily he knew what he was seeing, but like you said, he's not a coach. He doesn't really go. His big claim to fame is he read Eyes Off the Ball. Okay, great. I read Eyes Off the Ball, 15 years ago too. I mean, fantastic. I know for a fact I know less about all of football than all of these coaches by a lot. And, I always try to keep that in mind when I give my analysis. And that's because I am not like a personality. I'm not being paid to be a personality. I just go out and do what I like to do and write what I like to write. And that's the fun part about being on this side of the aisle.
I guess my beef is that it's okay that you're wrong. Like if Omar's wrong and he's turning on Tannehill, that's not a problem. But it's how the discussion happens, right? Because it's like we were telling you this 8 months ago, and you were like, "Shut up, you're wrong." And then 8 months later, oh look, I'm saying he's good, so be quiet. You can't say anything. It's about how the discussion is. It was never a discussion. It was just he sucks now, and now he's good because I say so. It's never a discussion. That's probably what I'm talking about more so than it's okay. Of course, it's okay to change your mind in context, of course. But
and I'll just say one more thing on this. Again, just to go back to my original point about these media guys. I mean, this is not what you got. What it is today with Twitter and the blogs and everything else is not what they were. Really, and that's not really what their jobs were when they learned how to do their jobs.
Yeah.
And they have to, and you have to evolve with the times, absolutely. But at the same time, if we want to value real news, then we need to stop having conversations with the media members and let them just report. But since we want to have these conversations, we have to be ready for these personalities to develop and we have to live with those consequences. And if you still want that information, then you gotta let it go sometimes.
Yeah. We'll keep striving now. We'll keep poking away, man. We just want discussion. We just want open discussion.
That's TBS. So anyway, going away from this media rant, the big topic has been the Ryan Tannehill, Deion Sims play. What's you guys take on it? Some people say Ryan Tannehill killed Deion Sims. Ryan was saying earlier that Sims killed himself. What do you guys think, Jay?
I don't know how you can put that on Tannehill. It's a football play. It's a football play. I mean, he overthrew him, but most of the time that doesn't mean that a guy doesn't get concussed most plays. I mean, it's just a football play. I don't think it's Deion or Ryan's fault. I just think it's a football play.
They were saying, like, I remember watching a little replay of it. They were saying if he needed to set his feet better, Tannehill, and then he would have gotten the better throw off.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great throw. I mean, I don't think that means that it's his fault that Deion is concussed. I don't think that's a correlation.
It's just anything to go back to the narrative, though, about the deep ball.
Please believe the biases are being confirmed with every play.
Yeah, like they needed that, like the deep ball. Ryan Tannehill can't throw the deep ball. Crew needed that badly.
Yes, they did.
And it resulted in a player getting hurt, so now...
Yeah, so they win extra. It's extra points. The funny thing was that was a play that I wanted to see on the All-22 when it came out, and I definitely made sure to go watch. And when I watched it, I saw a couple of things. One, he had Landry open underneath for an easy first down if he wanted it. Maybe 6-yard throw, easy throw on the move. Would have almost definitely completed the ball. But he saw Sims right away, knew he was open. I don't know that he had the time to set his feet and get the ball off and still have Sims in that portion of the end zone where he can make the catch without running out the back of it. So to say he should have taken time, he overthrew the ball. It was a hard throw. It was not a great throw. I mean, bad throws happen to every quarterback in the league. Like Jay said, it's a football play, man. You're laying out for a ball, you land, your head bounces, you get concussed. I mean, I was trying to jump over a puddle into my car the other day, and I fell right on my ass and almost hit my head. I mean, did my car get me killed, or was that a football play? Because I feel like that was a football play. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're on a football field, like I said earlier, you're gonna get hurt, and it happens, and it happened there, and it's unfortunate, and I don't want to make too much light of it, but it seems like Sims will be okay, and so, at the end of the day, it's kind of funny. It would have been nice if Ryan had been able to make the throw just a little bit more on the money. We could have had the exciting moment of the touchdown. Still, though, looks like Sims will be back pretty shortly, and they won the game in the end, and that's really what counts.
Yeah. All that matters at the end of the day is that they won that damn game. Somehow they grinded that out. We're saying
the results shall be played.
The results shall be played. We are result players today. But
any one-game sample size is only result-based.
Play it.
One game, one result. That's all you got, buddy. That's all you got.
Play it, man. Let's play it.
But people are saying that last year's Dolphins or the past 5-10 years Dolphins lose that game, which is probably true in some sense.
I don't know, man. The Dolphins win that. They've won a lot of good games and they've lost. They've just been average, man. I don't know. I don't buy that.
I mean, I think they have lost more games when they were ahead than they should have. Towards the end, especially last year, but they have been pretty good over the last year or so at actually grinding out these kind of games. They ground one out against next week's opponent Jacksonville last year. It was the same kind of grind out game, very close coming into the half. I remember typing at one point on Twitter while everybody was panicking. I think the Dolphins still win this game by like 14 or 24, and they went on to blow them out in the second half. And that's the kind of team they can be.
That first half kind of reminded me of that Monday night Tampa Bay game from 2 years ago, the first Bullygate game.
Oh.
The first day after the Bullygate. I don't know why I just kept on having flashbacks to that game where they got nothing going and nothing was going right. Then the second, and towards the end of the first quarter, it was actually like the same thing. If I remember correctly, Tannehill hit Matthews, for a touchdown right before halftime in that Tampa Bay game 2 years ago.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, so that I don't know why that game just reminded me of that. So as you were saying about the Jacksonville game, what do you guys think going into that? More of a blowout or another grinded out game for the Dolphins?
I think it's if it's a grinded out game, I won't be disappointed. I understand that Jacksonville has a good defense, and we saw what happened last year. It's a road NFL game. It is a road NFL game. Like, I'm not going to expect a blowout, and if it's not a blowout, rip them. I expect them to win, and well, I mean, I guess Ryan already talked me off of expecting Coyle to adjust anything in his game, but I would like them to maybe stuff the box a little more, but against a bad quarterback again. But I expect a win, and I do think it'll be closer to the sloppy end than the blowout end. It's a road NFL game, man. That's as simple as you can put it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say about this game what I said about the Washington game. Wouldn't surprise me if they won by 40. Wouldn't surprise me if they win with scoring 17 points. It's a road NFL game. Anything can happen. There's that old tired cliche. Any given Sunday, any NFL team can beat any other NFL team. It's an old tired cliche for a reason because we see it every single year. And this year is not going to be any different. You're going to see the Dolphins lose games they should win and win games they should lose. It's about what they do consistently over the 16 games. It's never about what happens in one or two in a row even. That said, I'm just hoping that they come out, they make some adjustments along the defensive line in terms of because Jacksonville's going to come out and cut early, just like Washington did. They saw it work once. They're going to try and do what Washington did. It's a copycat league, to use yet another tired cliche. And so you're going to see it again.
Let me ask you this, Ryan. What this whole phenomenon about Washington had a great game plan. Why doesn't everybody in the league just cut great defensive tackles then? And why is it a Dolphins issue now?
They try to, and they do, and the reason why they just can't do it is because what you saw in the second half, where they adjusted. They were, Sue and Phillips were a little bit slower on. They took an extra half a beat because these guys were going to cut every time, and they're going to go, and then they're going to fill the gaps, and they're going to shut down the run.
No, yeah, it's just a weird thing that people keep saying. Oh, Washington. Washington got Miami, and now Miami people are going to try this against Miami, but it's like, doesn't everybody cut everybody? It's not really.
Everybody cuts everybody. The thing about it is they caught Miami not ready because first game of the season, and so you come back and you have to make the adjustment at halftime. I think I saw Omar say he was disappointed that the adjustment didn't happen earlier. I'm still confused how much earlier than halftime you want. But, I've only read eyes off the ball once, so maybe...
Armando did that too. He said, it was the old cliche that high school teams adjust the next game, college teams adjust at the half, and then NFL teams adjust the next series. So, I mean, I can see, but I can see why somebody, you kind of should have been kind of prepared for that. I can see why somebody would say that it could have been sooner, the adjustment. But like we've already discussed that. Like, I'm not disappointed that they adjusted at the half and won. So
people are saying that this Jacksonville game can be a trap. I saw a few people talking about that.
I don't think you're going to see a trap type of game coming off of the performance they had at Washington. I think the team is going to be pretty dead set on coming out and saying, hey, you know what, that was not what we are, and try to at least execute at a level that will allow them to show, hey, we're capable of executing. Now, Jacksonville is an NFL football team with NFL players and a pretty good defense, and and it's on the road, so it's not going to be easy. But what we can hope to see and what we should want to see is an improvement in execution, a cutting down of the penalties, more of a commitment early in the game to the run game, so we can control the ball a little bit more. Not because controlling the ball is necessarily a great stat, because just like we watched with Philadelphia, it's not about how long you have it; it's about how many points you score. And so, you gotta measure both of those things. But at the end of the day, you have to go out there and find a way to win a football game, and whatever it takes to do that is what the Dolphins need to go out there and lay out on the field.
One last thing, predictions for Sunday, Jay. Score. What we did last time. Score. Top performer.
Miami 23, Jacksonville 14. And top performer's weird, but top performer is such a random cliche thing to do. But I'm just gonna say Ryan Tannehill. I'm just gonna say Ryan Tannehill because as good as the defense is, I'm going to trust what we saw in the preseason. I'm going to trust the progress we saw last season, and the fact that he's continuing to build with this receiving core and Jordan Cameron. And I'm just gonna say he has a good game against a good defense. I'm just gonna go with that.
Ryan.
All right. Well, I'm going to go a little bit out there because I have no consequences, and really, there's really nothing to stop me from being outlandish. I think the Dolphins come out and really put things together, really try to, like I said, execute and cut down on their mistakes, and I think they're successful at it. I'm going to say in the area of 31-10 Miami, and I think the top performer has a very good chance of being one of the receivers. Kenny Stills or Jarvis Landry.
Devontae,
Yeah.
man, you're not gonna pick Devontae?
He's got to play more than one play. I mean, I want to pick Devontae. I mean,
What if that one play is a deep ball?
right? But I mean, you see
Twitter would break.
You saw me on Twitter. I predicted 25 catches and like 10 touchdowns last week for Devontae Parker. He played one play, so I'm going to go ahead and say, I'd like to see Devontae Parker added more into the offense this game. 10, 15 plays, everything around the goal line. And but I think we see a breakout game from maybe somebody like Stills.
I think it's gonna be a blowout. The Dolphins come out, blow them out, like 31-13, something like that. And
I can't go 31-10 because I did.
And I was gonna say Devontae Parker. So Devontae Parker comes in, catches a touchdown, maybe two.
Dallas Thomas.
Dallas Thomas. The whole line.
I'm a Dallas Thomas guy. You know how we do it. Anything against that grain, I'm going, man. I'm going.
Well, you know the saying. You know the saying. Oh, anyway, thanks guys for watching this week. See you guys next week.